On behalf of the Cal Aggie Alumni Association and the Aggie Parent and Family Association, thank you for tuning in today for our conversation, Becoming a First-Year Parent or Guardian. Members of our Aggie Parent and Family Council are going to share tips on how you can navigate the family experience. We've got perspectives as an international, out-of-state, and in-state family and parent. We'll answer questions about how to prepare your student, how to stay involved with the university, understand campus resources, and explain why our parents and their students chose UC Davis. I'm Dana Allen, the Executive Director of the Cal Aggie Alumni Association and Assistant Vice Chancellor for Alumni and Affiliate Relations. I'm honored to be joining you today and serving as your moderator for today's panel. And we know that these are unprecedented times, but we could not let the Aggie experience go by without involving our parents and our families. So we're excited that you're able to join us today. And even though we can't be together physically, we hope you'll enjoy this opportunity to learn a little bit about how you as a parent and family member can better get to know UC Davis. One of the benefits that we offer is that when you do become a member of the Aggie family, you'll receive our In the Know newsletter, and you'll also have an opportunity to more fully become involved in the UC community. And at the end of this presentation, we'll send you a link and share with you information on how you can join the Parent and Family Association. Today's webinar is designed to share stories and support from parents. And for those of you that are considering obviously sending your child to a new place, we understand this can sometimes be very far away from home. So we have panelists today from across the country with a wide breadth of experience, some who are alums themselves, but all of who bring a very rich and diverse perspective to being a current parent of a UC Davis student. We hope that after this, you will become more informed, you'll have some of your questions answered, and during this process, we'll make sure to take every question that we can from the audience as time allows. So to start things off, I'm going to have us have our panelists introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about who they are, and then we'll jump into today's questions. So Claudia, how about we begin with you?
Hi, I'm Claudia Caporo. I am also an Aggie alumna. I graduated in 1983 in environmental toxicology, and I've been a member of the Aggie Parent Family Council since 2016. And I'm past president as well. I'm a physician and I work as a geriatrician at the VA here in Tucson, Arizona. And my daughter graduated in December with her bachelor's in biosystems engineering, and this past December. So right now she's still there working on her master's.
Great. Maureen?
Hi, I'm Maureen Conway. I'm from San Francisco. My son, Brian, will be graduating in December with a degree in geology. I've been on the Aggie Parent Council for actually 4 years myself. I am a paralegal at a law firm in San Francisco, and I'm excited to do this.
Wonderful, thank you. And Susie.
Hi, my name is Susie Hayworth. I'm a part of the 3-generation Aggies. My daughter is Eleanor, is on third year, junior, studying international agricultures. I'm so privileged can be part of this Aggie Alumni Councils. I have both home in Washington, D.C. and Napa. So for the past 3 years, my husband and I also do a lot of volunteers for the university. I've been in the board of family council for the past 3 years. Both my husband also serving as a board advisory for Washington, D.C. regional.
Great, thank you. And today we also would have had Joe McDermott, who's the president of our Family and Parent Council. Unfortunately, just before we went live, he had a bit of a family situation to address. So we're all sending out good wishes to Joe, who would have been here as well. But today, let's kick things off, and we'll start with a question for each of the panelists. And Claudia, I'm going to go to you first. Tell us why your student chose UC Davis, and what was your biggest concern about your student's transition to college, and how did you address it?
We started off with just doing the college tour like everyone else, and since I'm an alum, I sort of went to the place I knew the best, and so we went to visit UC Davis, and when you visit it, you sort of fall in love with it, like I did when I first visited it back in the 1970s, and you totally fall in love. She totally fell in love with it, and we're out of state, so that's always a challenge, of course. And but luckily, I was out of state when I moved to Davis as well, so I had that experience too. So I guess my biggest concern was the issues I had when I went to Davis was feeling sort of lonely and alone, and sort of away from your family. I moved from Maryland to California, and we're in Arizona to California, which is a little bit closer. But I made sure to connect with her often, and now versus the 70s, it's a lot easier with FaceTime and other emails and such and messaging. So communication's pretty easy. And I gave her up. I also joined and attended the parent event in October. So I sort of figured once we moved her into the dorms, we told her we'll be back in October, so she had something to look forward to. Because I thought that would be something that I would have liked as a student when I was there, to always have something to look forward to. And then we came back for Thanksgiving, and then she came home for Christmas. So I thought and then we sort of felt her out, and she gave us some ideas on how much attention she needed as well. And so we just sort of went with that, as that was sort of our way of dealing with it.
Okay, great. Susie, how about you? Why did your children choose Davis, and what was your biggest concern when that decision was made?
So as I mentioned early on, my daughter is a third generation in Aggies. My husband is class of 74, and my mother-in-law class of 64. So we live when my daughters accepted in UC Davis, we live full-time in Washington, D.C. But when we come to California, because we visit my husband, we have two girls, so we take them to say, girls, I'm going to take you to Utopia. And that Utopia is practically UC Davis. So my husband, who's Aggie for life, took the girls there to see the cows, to see the water tank, to see the campus since my daughter probably about 3 years old. And they just love it. And then we go to the picnic every year. And so we come for summer. So for some reason, my youngest one's like, I want to go to UC Davis. But as she grows older and and become in high school, I said, well, I'm not sure, because Nana went there, you went there. I don't know if I want to go there. But because of that deep down inside, she want to be she loves planting, she loves biology, she likes growing food, she likes cooking, she loves to grow things. So I said, well, maybe I am an Aggie after all. So that was, she decided to do that. The choice is whether staying in Ag school in West Coast and East Coast, and also West Coast. So she chose, of course, Aggie. So that was her decision, and we fully support it. The challenges for us at that time is that my husband and I both travel a lot for his work, out of country or around the country. So we were worried not to see her a lot. But like Claudia says, what incredible with technology. So we always communicated often through technology. So that was biggest concern, that we don't see them. But I think being out of state, like Claudia says, we trying to keep in touch as much as we can. So that's how we navigate the distance.
Great, thank you. And Maureen, how about you? What is your UC Davis story when that decision was made?
When my son was looking for schools, he looked at a lot of the UCs, and when he came to Davis, he really liked it. He said it felt more like community. He liked the environment. It was a little bit removed from the city. And so he applied, and he got in. and I was very grateful. I was very happy with the school when we came to tour. I felt like all my questions were answered, so that for me as a parent was a plus. As far as getting him to transition, it was a tough transition for him. He has a sister who's a year younger than him, and they're very, very close. And she actually was in college out of state. So he had a bit of a hard time adjusting to being away from her already with her going to school. So when he moved in the dorms, he had a hard time with that because there was a lot more kids around. You know, there's just the two of them here. And so that was a transition, but he finally got used to it, and that was okay. He had really nice roommates, and that was huge for him. As far as communication, thank goodness for electronic ability here, a lot of texting. I kind of let him lead. He's actually on the spectrum, so his needs are a little bit different than my daughter's were, but my daughter kind of helped him navigate through any kind of situations he might run into, but I think he did a great job, and I'm very, very happy he chose to come to Davis.
Great. Well, Maureen, if you don't mind, I'll ask you to sort of lead off with the next question. What are some tips and suggestions that you would have for parents over this coming summertime period as they get ready to transition their student to coming to college for the first time? And what are some of the things in hindsight maybe you wish you'd done as a parent, but it just didn't occur to you? And as we all know, hindsight is, 100%, right? What are some of those things you'd recommend looking forward?
What I did first was I linked his bank account to mine. So if I had to push money, I could do that easily. He had a job, so he had a little bit of money, but I still wanted to make sure he had enough to cover any kind of situations. He had the food plan in the dorms, so he was kind of covered there. I got him a planner. I thought that was key. Getting him a planner, also having him look on the Davis website to see if any of the professors had posted any kind of special items they might need for classes. Kind of shopping early, not waiting till last minute to do stuff. We took a couple of rides up here, kind of drove around, went to downtown Davis, went to a couple places that we thought he might want to eat, just so he could get a feel for the area. Also, we brought his bike, and he went riding on his own one time. My husband and I kind of left him, and we said, okay, you go try it. You come back. And we went to the Starbucks kind of over off of by Sycamore, where he lives now. And we kind of just wanted him to kind of get out there and transition into kind of being on his own, right? And feeling safe and secure. And Davis is a great area. It's very secure and safe. So that's always a plus.
Great. Susie, how about you? What are some recommendations you would have for parents to think about over the summer into the fall? And for those parents that we have that may not be as close by as Maureen was able to make some trips back and forth to the area, what are some extra recommendations that you would have to get their student ready?
So when we were living in Washington, D.C., when we still live in Washington, D.C. then, but it's one thing that was so funny because we tend to cling on to our little, our baby before you go to college, especially mine is the youngest one. So, but the trick is that for us, okay, so they don't want us because they want to be they were nervous that leaving DC and then away from the parents. So we actually encourage them to see their friends and then do things. And in DC, we have a lot of museums. So they spend a lot of time in the museum and and also we actually do a lot of potluck with the kids only of their friends. So we say, I'm sorry, parents, you're not invited. So because these are their time. So I think if we give a space to our daughter and son to kind of giving goodbye to their high school friends And then, even to, we do a lot of potluck for that, for the kids, and the other parents will take turns. So let them spending their summer with their friends, going to the restaurants they would like, and going places, they go to movies together and things like that. Even I have to kind of pick them up by midnight because, they go out to the movies and things. It's okay, but because when we drop her off from DC to Davis, we practically drop them off, everything, and then my daughter says, "Okay, Mom, and that's you later." I said, "Wait, what do you mean?" It's like, I'm gonna be okay. So it feels like a good closure for them being outside, that I have worried good closure with my friends, and I know my family will be there all the time. So that was my tip, just to do that. And the other things like adding to Maureen bank account from out of state, we do Venmo, and then we also linked, if you're I'm talking about the second year, if we look at the forward, is that the payments, if they're moving out from the campus, from the dorm, after that they have to look for their own apartments, link your bank account payment directly to the landlord. I think that's the other thing that I can give in advance. So thank you.
No, that's great. And Claudia, how about you? Any other tips looking ahead over the summer, or things in hindsight that you didn't think about and wish you had kind of early on?
Well, I think it was really helpful to go to orientation for us. And we went to the in-state orientation, not the out-of-state orientation that happens closer to the time school starts. Now, I know things are going to change this year. I think they're going to do orientation totally different, but we found that very helpful. I also put together in Arizona, because we had already gone to orientation. I knew a little bit about Davis. Anyway, we put together a little Aggie welcome kind of at my house too. So I helped at least orient another student from Arizona a little bit. But what I learned from the orientation really helped answer a lot of their questions. Also the bank account, we had a bank account for her. I also got her a credit card. I thought it was good for her to learn how to take care of a credit card and pay it off every month like she should, and be an adult in that regard. Other than that, I think we've looked at some lists of from her friends who had gone to college about what to pack. And I think we have a list like that too we can share, that we put together, so you have a good plan. Then during also the summer, they gave them some things they had to do, like testing they had to do to go, at least in the sciences, if you want to go to a chemistry or math, to see which class you should be taking. So I know she did that on her own, and there's some other things about alcohol and stuff they make them do, so that they'll be doing that as well. I actually sat in on some of those just to see what it was about. But basically having the list from other students, and so you have a little plan on what to pack and what to bring, that really was helpful.
Great, thank you. And Susie, we have a question from one of our participants today that I'll ask you to start off with. And basically they're asking, what are some of the activities that students can get involved with early on so that they can feel connected to each other and connected to the campus? And what are some of the types of the organizations that they can get involved with from the get-go that might help them meet new people and build friends?
Thank you for that questions. Being new in environments that you don't know, it can be quite overwhelming. But Davis, Davis is different. It gives my daughter right away, like, okay, I like this place, then I'm going to start doing something. So before we even get into campus, she get into the website, UC Davis website. It shows tons of opportunity to join the clubs. So before even that, she joined a because she loves planting plants. So she's going to she's joined a club on a spider club web, something like that. It's incredible what kind of. And then she also find, surprisingly, she said like, Mom, I can get, because she worked in Washington at the restaurant, you know, Mom, I can get a job. I said, what do you mean? You just started, you're gonna get a job? No. This was to help professors to help plantings a bok choy, because one of the professors is starting research on bok choy. So she did that before even. So there's a lot of plenty of opportunities at clubs. And the other thing that my home country is Indonesia. So there is a student association for Indonesian students called Permias. And I'll be happy to put that one also part of the package of information. So she joined that. It's a lot of activities. So they have welcomed students from Indonesia, or also the one in Indonesia who live in the States and things like that. So it was really good. So she has connected through the professors helping, you know, to do research, even though just to volunteers. And then two, she's got a job, you know, basically planting the bok choys. She likes to be outdoor. And the third, she's also joined the club. So it's a lot of resources, and they're all like, your student can do this even before you go into the campus physically. So once you get in, you settle in your dorm, they can start activities on top of the very busy first quarters.
Great. Well, we've also got some questions here, sort of thinking maybe a little bit down the road, and what will it be like, or what is it like to compare living on campus versus off-campus housing. And Maureen, I know you shared a story earlier that talked about where your son sort of is now residing, but can you share a little bit about how you all looked at those options, and what were some things to consider, you know, when you get to that point?
Well, I'll tell you that when you get there the first quarter, you're in the dorm, but you should kind of start looking for an apartment right away. I learned the hard way with my son, because he didn't say anything about having to get an apartment, and all of a sudden we were scrambling. So that's one tip that I would bring in. Actually, I talked to him last night about it. He actually said the same thing. So I'm glad I wasn't the only one on that page. But yeah, definitely plan moving from on campus to off campus. And honestly, where he's living on Sycamore Street, it's kind of near the Trader Joe's over. I can't think. I'm having a senior moment right now, thinking of that main street that goes down. But it's a great location, and it's close enough to campus. And with everybody riding your bike, it's perfect. As far as living off campus, I think that's actually been a better situation for him, just because it's a little bit more quiet. And all the guys that he's lived with have been just really fabulous. And he's been able to maintain friendships with them, even since some of them have graduated. And kind of gives him his kind of freedom to kind of do his own thing. Like Susie said, not under my hovering, but he can do his own thing, and he's in charge of himself, you know. And that's just, you know, how we have to move.
Well, another question that's come up that certainly is understandable is the issue of bicycle theft, and just wanting to make sure that in the, you know, center of the world for all things bicycle, that those pieces of property are well maintained and kept safe. So Claudia, any experiences or things that you all went through dealing with that, or any tips to share? Oh, I think.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Sure. The question is about, with all the bicycles we have in the area, just making sure that those are kept safe, and what are some of the tips against bicycle theft and those sorts of things, just because. Anything that you experienced as a parent with that?
Well, when I was there, I rode my bike, but my daughter is not a bike person at all. She walked her whole 4 years. So you can manage without a bicycle, but it is nice to have a bicycle for sure. And the stories I've heard about it are, you really have to don't have a nice bike, not a good looking bike for sure. You want to really have it locked up with a couple locks. This is completely different than my day. My day, I hardly locked it, and wherever I was, never had a problem getting my bike stolen or anything. But nowadays, it is an issue. It's very common that bikes do get stolen, so you have to be very good at really putting them under lock for sure, and not have an expensive bike.
Susie, did you want to mention something about that?
Yes, yes. May I agree with Claudia. My daughter is we live in DC. We bike everywhere too. So Davis is like a bike heaven for my daughter. The piece of advice, like Claudia says, is just don't buy a cheap. Just buy. There's also a secondary market among the students on the bikes, so you can find those. Don't buy expensive bike, but I tell you what, buy expensive lock. So yeah. So I mean, like really work loud, yeah. But it's incredible. But people and students, and I'm sure Maureen and Claudia will add to me this. The traffic, you think that you know how to drive bicycle in a normal way, and in DC, you know, all this savvy, but your students after the second semesters, they just exactly know how the traffic flow. Nobody crash into anything. They just so heavenly bike. So yeah, don't buy a cheap, don't buy expensive bike, but buy expensive lock. Thank you.
Also, I wanted to recommend that if you haven't biked for a while, you should that summer bike a lot before you go to on campus, because you have to be pretty savvy to get through campus now. It is pretty busy, so just a recommendation.
And I'll pipe in a little bit. Actually, my son never even rode a bike before. And so when he started school, he actually went in our garage and actually rode, like Claudia said. You really have to practice because there's a lot of bikes on campus, but it can be done. Definitely. He loves it now. It can definitely be done if they've never ridden before.
Great. Well, I know when I relocated here, my first opportunity to be on campus and see just how many students were on their bikes at one time, it was pretty amazing. But I did have to look a couple of ways myself, but that was more on me. Taking a little bit of a turn, I know each of your students has very different academic pursuits and their focus of studies. So can each of you talk a little bit about internships and some of the experience that you've heard from your students, getting internships during their time at Davis and some of the steps that they took to do that? And Maureen, why don't we start with you and share a little bit about how that's gone?
So the internships for Brian, what I would suggest is kind of find a mentor in your department, someone that will kind of help you along the way, not just starting freshman year, like sophomore year, and just find somebody. He's been working with I think the guy's a doctoral student. He's been fabulous with Brian. He actually helped give suggestions to Brian as to where he might be interested in doing internships. So he actually did an internship last summer, and he did a paleontology day. And his TA actually helped him get that set up. And he had a fabulous time. And actually, he has one again this year in North Dakota. But, you know, with the COVID, we're not sure. But definitely, I'd say find a friend in the department. And also, your buddies that you meet that are taking the same major, they might have ideas that they're not interested in that you guys can share. So I would suggest that as well.
Susie, how about you?
So as I mentioned, my daughter, as soon as she got into the first settling in the first quarter, she was lucky enough to interns with these graduate students about brown spider. Well, apparently brown spider is as deadly as black widow. So that's a lot of things that she learned that quarters, and it almost says maybe I take a minor on etymologies. But that changed because she knows she's going there for, and then on the other, that intern, she also volunteered, not the intern, just a volunteer to Choy. The next year, again, that's from the professors. That leads to her really defining her interest more even on the agriculture. So because a lot of on her professor says, okay, if you do this, then we can mentor you. So one of his graduate school mentor on the planting of doing the genetic of bok choy, which is the Chinese cabbage, right? So, but then again now, since the second year, it therefore become more and more the professors, the leading professors who's doing this essays. Well, she did it last year, so why don't we offer her a real internship on doing the aquaponics of the agriculture. So if you're Aggie starting a freshman, it's very normal to basically the freshmen to look different kind of internship, just to be open-minded, you know, throughout the first quarter, the first year, and then the second year, say, oh, all those internship that I did on the first year, it will like depend on whether I will, you know, stick with, when I do my minors, or do I really, so which is really a good way to ease up on the second thing. So if our suggestion is not that only work for my daughter, that she's just starting to look at the volunteer, even though it's not internship, you know, full internship, just look, the first man is the volunteers with the graduate schools, and it will lead to something from there. That's works for my daughter, and I hope it works for your Aggies too.
Yeah, how about any experience in internships, job placement? With obviously having just graduated in December, it's probably really very, very top of mind.
Well, actually, just to give you a background on my daughter, she started in ag and environmental sciences. She went exploratory, and she wasn't sure what she wanted to do. So until her middle of her sophomore year, she switched over to engineering, because I know a lot of parents are wondering if you're in one school, if you could move to another school, and she was able to do that, to go from ag and environmental sciences to engineering. And then once she got in, her major's pretty small, biosystems engineering, and then, you know, really getting connected with professors is important for any student. I totally recommend, you know, in classes, in, you know, anything you're interested in, go talk to the professor. They want to talk to you. Even when I was a student, I loved talking to the professors. They love sitting down with the students and just chatting with you, and you can banter with them and get any ideas. You know, don't feel shy about that at all. I recommend that highly, to go talk to the professors. So my daughter did end up finding a professor that she's working with now for her graduate program. So that's how she worked it. She never really went outside to do a internship. She sort of started working with a professor that she's actually working with now for her master's. But there are programs that there actually are fairs that go on during the year that the students can go to, and they have all different people from different corporate companies and stuff, and you can all talk to all the different people. So I know my daughter went to a few of those, and those are open for students as well, and your student will be told about those to go to. Start when you're a freshman, even though they feel a little intimidated. Go as a freshman so you just get used to it. And then by the time you're a sophomore and a junior, you'll feel more comfortable going and talking to those companies.
Great, absolutely. And there's really just a lot of those opportunities with the job fairs and the career nights. So a great resource to tap into early on. We have another question from one of our participants, and we're going to do this for each of our panelists. And Susie, I will start with you. What are 3 words that you would use to describe the culture at UC Davis?
Wow, there's so many words I can describe at Davis. So to narrow it down to 3, caring, caring and loving, for sure, you know, and then the last one is, utopia. It's pretty much utopia. So that's all I can come up with, because there's so many you can think. But even again, like I said, my family, those things: caring, loving, and utopia.
Great. All right, Maureen, how about you? What would be your 3 words?
I would say learning, caring, and comfortable.
Okay, and Claudia.
It's hard because there's so much. I definitely say friendly. Just gosh, I can't get it into one word, but they're just the amazingness of everyone there is like this the vast studies that are happening there, and everybody's so like they're just so easy to talk to you about it. It's just amazing, you know. And it's caring too, a really caring environment, and really easy to be there. And I mean, I want to go back all the time. I mean, I always want to go back, you know, to Davis. So, you know, once you leave there, you just keep wanting to go back.
Well, Claudia, that is a perfect segue into another question from one of our participants. And interested in knowing what opportunities are there for parents to connect with each other while their student is at UC Davis, and what are some of the events and activities parents can get involved in? So can you share a little bit about what brought you back to campus during your time, and some of the things that are available to our future parents here on the line, so to speak?
Well, there's always picnic day. That's probably the most wonderful event that Davis has. It's basically an open house for Davis, and they basically open up the whole campus for you to come in, and you can go. It's for the community, it's for the parents, it's for the students, and it's a really wonderful event. There's also there's like for students too that parents don't usually go to but could, is like the Whole Earth Festival in May. That's a really fun sort of hippie kind of like fun event. And then during the year for us parents, there is always an event in October for parents. You know, I've gone to I think I've gone to all of them since my daughter was a freshman. They have lectures, they have tours. It's a really nice way, and you can talk to other parents at them and meet other parents at these events. You could go to some of this, and there's always like a sports event that's combined with that. So you get to enjoy some great games, and affordable. And then we've even like in February, we've had some nice events that were tagged in with a UC Davis events where we actually was like a mini picnic day where we went to sort of different areas of campus, but it wasn't as big and as many people, but we got to still enjoy like the Raptor Center or the Mondavi Center where all the wine is being made and stuff. So we got to enjoy that too. So at all these events, parents are really open to talk to you, and it's really fun to meet other parents from other places. So, and also during like move-in's a good time to meet parents, and orientation, of course. So
Susie, we'll pose the same question to you, but I'm going to add a little bit onto it, especially because you mentioned having a home both in DC and Napa. What are some of the events and activities that you not only stay connected with other parents to, but how did you stay connected with your student, you know, while they were away? What are some of the things that you found particularly effective to stay in close contact and keep those ties?
So in addition to the picnic day, because we were in DC, sometimes we cannot go, but I just want to share good news, because part of it is once, and I do hope some of the new parents are joining you can locally and also in campus. So because my husband and I are both serving at the advisory in DC Regional, the parents in Washington, D.C. was basically creating, with the regional director, creating a mini of picnic day. So when we could not come to UC Davis at Real Picnic Day. So just last year, we developed a called satellite picnic day to add what Rhodia was saying. So where the Smithsonian was hosting it for us. So the parents was with the regional director creating that. So it happened live when parents can come to the campus, but we, the one who cannot, can do locally. So, and I'm hoping this will go around internationally and also nationwide. So, so that's one trick that we cannot go, but most effectively, of course, the picnic day and the other thing for us to be connected is every Sunday we have a family dinner kind of thing. Sometimes we tune in with them, and she was just sometimes sitting on the quad on the ground doing her homework. So we can always see her life in campus, even though we're not. So I think be part of the parents' councils or be part of the regional advisory. I think it's a good way if you're living outside of UC Davis. So that's how we connected as a family.
And Maureen, how about you? Being a little bit closer, how did you stay connected without getting too involved and having that appropriate space?
Yeah. So what we did, we went to a lot of events at the Mondavi Center. They offer a lot of different things to do. That was a really good one. Also, some of the boys that Brian has been living with, we actually went out with their parents, you know, and got to know their parents, and that was good. And then also downtown they have the fruit market, and so what we would do is we would go to the market with them and just kind of hang out and just talk. And it's a casual way just to kind of hang out. And you could kind of get a feel for the other parents and maybe their concerns maybe is like mine, or, you know, so that's kind of what we did. Yeah, you just kind of got to be a little bit, kind of let your child give you the lead and as to how much they want you involved. You know what I mean? I think you have to be respectful of their space, you know, just think about it like yourself. So, yeah.
Great advice. And one question, which might be, I want to make sure I'm reading it well. A couple of questions about whether or not you felt that your kids were able to get all the classes they needed at the time they needed to kind of stay on pace to graduate within 4 years, or whatever their program happens to be. Maybe Claudia, again, just this past December, this might be a little more top of mind. Do you feel like all the classes were available and ready at the right time in that sequence?
Yeah, generally, I mean, I guess each student has their time that they can register. They're called pastimes. And, but once it's your pastime, get in and get on it. You know, don't let it pass you by. And my daughter was able to get all her classes fine. But don't miss your pastime. And also make sure you pay your tuition, because if you don't pay your tuition in time, you will be dropped from your classes. And then it's really hard to get your classes. From what I've heard, that's my advice on that. So.
Maureen, how about you? Any thoughts on that or experience from hearing Brian talk about that?
You know, regarding to piggyback on what Claudia said about the tuition, we had some good experiences actually calling the financial aid office. It's kind of funny, when I first started doing, I was like, oh dear, here we go. But actually the gal who we worked with, she was lovely, and she really helped Brian kind of figure that out. So I wouldn't be too intimidated about that. Just give him a call, but you have to be on it. Brian changed his major. So when he picked engineering, I was like, why are you picking engineering? I mean, you've liked dinosaurs since you were born, you know, so that kind of put him back. But yeah, like Claudia said, when it's time for you to register, make sure you do it.
Susie, how about you? Anything to offer in that space also?
Well, yes. I think what my daughter did was she took the first 2 years, she took all the requirement for international ag. And then last quarter, she decided, Mom, I have enough and I want to do something else. What do you want to do? It's like, don't tell me you're going to drop off the college. And no, Mom, I have all my requirements. So first, fill out those requirements according to majors that you're interested in. Secondly, she says, I want to go study abroad. So she did. She went to Argentina for study abroad with UC Davis. And to my surprise, she is actually taking some of the courses that related to gender equality, which she applied that to her, that she can get the credits, applied to her ag, gender equality, women's, it's about Asian migration as agriculture workers in South America, in Chile. So she can still that. So she's still like, I still want to have fun studying abroad to learn experience, but I'm going to add it to that. And she says, Mom, I think I can graduate in 3.5 years, which is this next fall. Is like, and I says, why hurry? You know, yeah, you're right. So she decided to take fun classes because all the requirement for international ag is she's already done it. So I think that is the first thing that for my daughter's strategy. Right now, she's having she's able to take classes that for her fun next fall, meaning like anything that she's interested in, because so many classes that you can take in UC Davis is beyond, you know, a lot of her interests. So I think that's the only thing that we navigate in my daughter case.
And, you know, that's a great segue into a question for Maureen, talking about tapping into study abroad and some of those programs. What are some other resources and areas that your son sort of found outside of what you might have traditionally thought they would have gotten involved with? What were some of the new experience he had, and what are some of those things that have added to his time?
He actually did, with the geology department, he actually did presentations at seminars. Like he did one in Las Vegas, and he did one in up north, Washington State, I believe. And he actually did a presentation. He put together all the information. The guy that's been helping him and mentoring him throughout his whole time at Davis actually reviewed the information, made sure it was correct. And I was proud of him. He presented everything to a whole professional audience. So that was really, really something beyond that. And also the school reimbursed him for his travel. So when you're going to do that stuff, make sure you talk to whomever you're working with, and there is an opportunity for reimbursement. So everything does not come out of your pocket.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, we're probably coming to the end of our time, so I'll wrap up with one last question for each of the parents. And Claudia, I'll start with you. If you could have just sort of one final message to our parent and family members that are participating with us, and we're so glad you all have decided to join in today. Thank you so very much. What's that final takeaway about a way in which you think they will see their loved one grow and develop during their time at Davis, and something that your proud parent moment that you would advise them to look forward to?
It's just amazing to see them grow, and I agree with Maureen. Let them take the lead, and just be really aware of them, and but they will grow, and I remember when my daughter first started there, and she was like really stressed about her chemistry class and it was so stressful for her. But then after a few weeks, she started to get into the groove, and she started to understand the campus and understand her classes, and you see them just sort of like really get comfortable with it, you know, and they had there's lots of opportunity for tutoring and all that. So once they learn, all the options they have, and you see them comfortable, then you feel really comfortable. But be aware if they get you know, I know depression's an issue sometimes in these students, and you know, but if you need to find help, there is help on campus for that. You know, so if you start seeing your student having some problems with that, there's definitely options on campus. It's just welcome, and your students gonna love it, and we're really happy you're here.
Maureen, how about you? What's your proud parent moment and message that you would give to our folks?
Like Claudia said, I'll piggyback a little bit of what she said about just navigate all the resources that you have available. Just take advantage of them. Because really you're paying for it, and why not? And 99.999% of people in Davis want to help you. So just use that and take advantage. Proud parent moment, you did it, right? And you're in a great spot, and what a great place to have navigated. And you should be really proud of yourself for making the decision to come here, and then when you get to the other side, making the decision for graduation.
And Susie, how about you?
Well, I remember 3 years ago, I am on your seat, the new parents. So looking back, and of course, I'm taking a note from Maureen and Claudia, who's another year. My proud moment is practically how my daughter is basically have an amazing experience of learning and growth as to be ready to be outside, I hope, the next year when she's graduating. So my proud moment is that let them sail. And I think we help them to set up those sail together. And I think they're sailing, of course, there's always bumpy road, right, sailing. But I think once they put their sail up, we hope they're going to be sailing smoothly. My other things that I would like to invite you parents that basically to encourage them to be balanced. Balance their study and life and also experiments. I think that's all about. And again, like Claudia and Maureen says, it's incredible how much the counselor can help them. It's always there. For instance, my daughter will email her counselor, about the classes and things like that. Within 5 minutes, email back right away, talk on the phone. So help is always there. So in closing, yes, the sails, you already set their sail and they will be sailing smoothly. So welcome to Aggie's family.
Well, thank you. And first, I'd like to thank all of our panelists for taking the time out of the day today to answer your questions. We may not have been able to get to every single one, but at the end of the presentation, you're going to see some information posted that includes links to a number of campus resources, including mental health and support services, counseling services, and where you can find a lot of information about different activities and resources around UC Davis, starting at any point from now on through your process. You're also going to find information on where you can join our Parent and Family Association, which again, our panelists today are members of, and happy to share more information about that with you as well. And if there's a question that we weren't able to get to, or there's a question that you'd like specifically to make sure one of our panelists today receives, you'll see the email there at the bottom of the screen, parentprogram@ucdavis.edu. Send us an email and we will work to get back with you and do all we can to get you the information that you need. I'd like to also take one more moment and thank a couple of people who were behind the scenes of making this happen for us today. And that's Pauline Metzger and Ben Wilson, who are part of our Alumni and Affiliate Relations team. They set up all of our technology and hopefully kept everything as smooth for everybody else as it was on my screen. Again, thank you today. And if you'd like to review this information, or you have other friends who weren't able to log in at this time, but you think they would enjoy viewing it, this has been recorded and it's going to be available for viewing starting later on at the Aggie Experience Live website. So you can go there and pull it down. But right now, again, you should be seeing those resources that I mentioned just a moment ago, student information, some of our mental health resources, and of course, the latest information on how the campus is responding to COVID-19. Thank you all again. Thank you again to our panelists, and go Ags. Have a great day.
Thank you, Dana.